going on there, guys? It's Jay and Derek from Tap and Turn Gaming. Hope you guys like our little backdrop that we had created for some of our videos where Derek and I are both on camera. But anyways, so yes, so this video is going to be like our little pre-review, kind of a spoiler, kind of a review, kind of a preview of the upcoming Fate Reforged set that's coming at the tail end of this month in January. My overall take on the set, I'm not too impressed with it by looking at it. I know a lot of you probably have seen some spoilers online of the cards in it so far. You know, so when you're done watching this video, you know, throw out a comment in the comment section. You know, tell us what you think about it. But what do you think about the set overall, Derek?
I agree. I tend to look at these cards and, you know, there may be a lot of cool stuff for like standard or something like that, but from a strictly EDH standpoint, I find the set to be sort of underwhelming. There's a few gems in there, some cool new generals, but yeah, I think overall it's sort of an underwhelming set, even just coming out of Khans, which I thought was a really cool set. I mean, how'd you feel about Khans?
I really liked Khans of Tarkir. You know, whenever they have, you know, I'm a huge fan of Ravnica. You know, as are you. As you guys well know, we just finished our Ravnica Battle for Supremacy project on our channel, which we hope you enjoyed, by the way. But yeah, stuff like that where it's like guilds or like groups, and there was Ravnica, Shards of Alara. Then we have Khans of Tarkir, where it's like this like group. Like a guild, or you have the Khans. Like I just feel like when there's a set like that where you have
the lore, I like a lot of lore.
Yeah, the lore is definitely really cool as well. But seeing as we're an EDH channel, we like to see new legendary creatures, and I felt like Khans of Tarkir brought us some pretty sweet legends.
Oh, yeah, definitely did, yeah.
Some of them were, kind of meh from an EDH standpoint, but some of them were really cool, like, Zergo Helm Smasher.
Narset.
Narset.
Awesome.
Yeah, Narset is definitely a build-around-me card for sure. Sidisi as well. I mean, I'm interested in building a Sidisi deck. I'm actually in the process of doing it right now. But yeah, I mean, I really liked Khans of Tarkir overall. But again, going back to this set, Fate Reforged. I mean, we have 10 new legendary creatures from this set, which we're going to talk about a little later on in the video. But my overall take on this set is not. Yeah,
I tend to agree.
Yeah, not that impressed. But yeah, so. That's our overall take on the set right now. Some of the things we're going to talk about in the video is the two new mechanics in this set, Manifest and Dash. So I guess I'll kick it off by talking about Dash. Basically what that is you can pay the dash cost on a creature instead of its actual mana cost, and it will come in with haste, and at the end of your turn it gets returned to your hand. So it's kind of almost like Derek and I were talking before we started the video. It kind of just turns your creatures into like would you say a ball lightning?
Yeah, something like a ball lightning, or one of those many red creatures that gets haste and dies or bounces at the end of turn. Like it's similar to that in the same sort of vein.
I mean, I guess it could kind of make for some interesting interactions, but I mean, I don't know. I feel like they probably could have, done a better job with it overall.
I think what's weak about it is that you're giving away a lot of information to your opponent. You dash in a creature, it goes back to your hand. They know it's still in your hand. They know what you're holding. So one of the cards in your hand is that creature. And I don't like giving away that information. It takes a lot of surprise away, because if you have two cards in your hand, they know one is that dash and one is a mystery. And I don't know, I feel as though it's almost like a weaker version of Unearthed.
Yeah, I could see that, yeah.
Where Unearthed came from the graveyard to the battlefield in exile, but Unearthed had that moment of surprise where you didn't know they were going to unearth it from your graveyard, once you dash in and it goes back, you know it's there. Like it's
yeah, and your opponent could steal themselves for it, a second time. They might not know. Obviously the first time you cast it, they don't know it was in your hand. Once you dash it and it goes back to your hand, not like you said, now they know it's there. Now they can potentially prepare themselves to to answer it somehow when it comes back into play.
Yeah, I feel like it's a one-trick pony.
So why don't you talk about the other mechanic we have in the set, Manifest?
So the other mechanic, Manifest, is sort of like Morph, whereas whenever something's manifested, it goes directly from the top of your library onto the battlefield face down. And it goes in as a colorless 2/2 creature. So that's pretty cool that you can just get a 2/2 creature when something's manifested. And if it happens to be a creature card, you can flip it face up for its mana cost, essentially morph it face up rather for its mana cost. So it's sort of like Morph's weird cousin, because if you put down a face down, say, I don't know, 4-cost creature, it doesn't really matter what it is, and then you want to flip it face up, you pay that 4 mana, it flips face up, now you have the actual creature, so it's good for combat tricks and stuff like that. But where the downfall is for me is that if a land gets manifested, or a sorcerer, an instant, or an artifact, planeswalker, anything that isn't a creature, you can't flip it face up unless you have some sort of blink effect. So it stays face down forever, and when it gets killed, it's gone. A land could be gone, planeswalker could be gone, something that you needed may be gone. So I feel like Manifest is only good if you're playing a lot of top deck manipulation,
yep,
or a lot of blink effects. Other than that, I feel like you're potentially just hurting yourself, especially in the EDH where you're building a 99 card deck, and you craft these decks so every card works towards the deck. It's not like, oh, I'm just going to throw this card in. All those cards have a purpose. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I could see it being okay in Standard, with your deck being a 60-card deck and having up to 4 copies of any given card.
You can blow a multiple, it's not as bad.
Yeah, exactly. So, from like a Standard standpoint, I mean, we don't really play Standard much anymore, actually hardly at all.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if I look at it from a Standard standpoint, I could see it being okay. It may be really, really good in Standard. We'll have to see. But, from an EDH standpoint, like you were saying, you only have 1 copy of any given card in your deck. And, unless you're playing a lot of top deck manipulation and stuff like that, like Scry, things of that nature, where you can set up what you're going to manifest, so, you don't manifest something, like a big threat away, into just a 2/2 creature. If I manifest my, my planeswalker, like you were saying, that's just a 2/2 creature that I can, go in for 2 damage. But if it gets destroyed, I can never get that planeswalker on the board, unless you have like a flicker effect or something like that. So, I mean, from an EDH standpoint, I don't like it. I think it's pretty dumb.
I can only see it being viable in a really blue-white blink deck. That's really the only place I can see it being viable, where you could get down a huge threat, manifested, blink it out, comes back and flipped. Unless you're playing blue-white blink, I just don't see it really being viable at all.
Yeah, I mean, there is one card. We've compiled a list of some of the cards, that we saw that we thought were pretty cool. There is one card from this set that has Manifest. I believe it's a black card, that I think is actually pretty good because it will manifest creatures, and that they're creatures, so you can flip them face up. But we'll talk about that once we go over our list. But so those are the 2 mechanics, Dash and Manifest. I mean, my overall take on both of those is, again, it's kind of meh. I don't really like them too much. Dash could make for some interesting interactions depending on the card, but my overall take on it, I don't really like it. Same with Manifest. Like Derek was saying, where it just kind of, if you manifest a card like a spell or a planeswalker or an artifact or enchantment, once that 2/2 creature dies, that card is gone and now you can't use it. So
we forgot one of the mechanics, Bolster.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yes.
So to go over Bolster really quick, it's pretty cool. Some of the cards have Bolster X, where X is a number, or I think one of them has Bolster X, but Bolster 5, Bolster 4, and when that creature with Bolster comes in, or that spell with Bolster resolves, whatever creature you have that's the smallest gets 1/1 counters equal to that amount. So I actually think that's a pretty cool ability, because anytime you can make a guy bigger, more or less for free, is always a benefit. Like there's the Mastodon with bolster 5. So even if you have a 1/1 down, you just cast a 5/5 who's going to bolster the 1/1 and make him a 6/6. So it's pretty cool. And as your guys get bigger and bigger, it's still going to bolster your weakest guy. If your weakest guy's a 10/10, he's still going to go to a 15/15.
Yeah, and one thing to note with that Mastodon, if that's the only creature that you have on the board, he's just going to bolster himself and become a 10/10.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So, I mean, a 7 cost, he's a 7 cost, right?
7 cost, 5 with reach.
If he's the only creature that you play, you just got a 7 cost 10/10 that can block creatures with flying. So, I mean, that's pretty good.
Hardly anything's getting through a 10/10 flyer.
So, yeah, I mean, we did actually forget about that, the bolster mechanic, and I think that's a pretty cool mechanic, being able to, put +1/+1 counters on your creatures, your weaker creatures, and make them bigger. It's kind of, I guess it's not so much, like getting up a card, but I feel like, you play maybe like a weaker creature that's like a utility creature, and you do whatever you did with it. Maybe it had an enter the battlefield effect or something like that, and you probably weren't swinging in with it because it was a little dinky creature. Well, now you just play a creature with bolster and make that creature bigger. Now you can potentially start attacking with it.
It just makes your current permanents more threatening.
Yeah.
Rather than manifest, which can take your threats from your deck and make them unthreatening.
Yeah. So those are the 3 mechanics, actually, new mechanics from Fate Reforged. But now we're kind of going to go into our little lists that we've compiled. I've got a list here of all the legends or the new commanders that we're getting from the set. And Derek's got a list of cards that we've kind of collaborated together that we just personally like from the set. We think are pretty cool. There's not too many. Like we said, the set's a little underwhelming, when we look at it. But yeah, take us away with some of the cards that we've compiled the list of.
Yeah, the first card that we had talked about was Soulfire Grandmaster. He's a 2-cost 2/2 human monk with lifelink. He gives your instants and sorcery spells lifelink, and then when you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you can pay 2. Is it 2 or 3? 2. A hybrid blue or a hybrid red, and another hybrid blue or hybrid red. And when that sorcery instant will go to your graveyard, instead it goes to your hand. I think he's pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
The fact that you can cast like a Banefire and it will have lifelink, and then you can invest an extra 4 mana to have it go back to your hand. I mean, there's a reason why Tamio is really good, and because she gives you that emblem that stuff goes back to your hand. It may cost you 4 mana to do it, but being able to return your spells to your hand is huge.
Yeah, and I think that would be really good in EDH as well. Hell, maybe you have a Narset deck. I feel like that card would probably fit right in.
Well, yeah, because Narset's going to cast it, so you can just pay the 4 mana and it goes right to your hand.
Exactly. You can cast it without paying its cost, and then use that mana on him to get it back to your hand, and then do it again.
I mean, it's honestly disgusting with the card Bright Flame. Because Bright Flame gains you the lifelink.
Yes.
But Bright Flame specifically doesn't say it has lifelink. It just says you gain life equal to damage dealt. So you're going to gain life equal to damage dealt, and then the spell has lifelink, so you're going to gain double that.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
Yeah, Soulfire Grandmaster, thumbs up, yes.
Next card that we have over here is Brutal Horde Chief. I already know this guy's getting a lot of buzz for Standard. I think he holds through for EDH as well, but he's a 4-cost, 3/3 Orc Warrior. Whenever a creature you control attacks, the defending player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life, so that's pretty cool. His real coup de grace ability is you pay 3 in a hybrid white-red and a hybrid white-red. Creatures your opponents control block this turn if able, and you choose how those creatures block. That's an amazing ability because you can pay the 5, and if they have 100 creatures out, you could make all 100 of them block one of your guys, and the rest go through. Or not block any of them. Like you did. I think you can just skip all the blocks.
Master of Warcraft.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what do you think about him?
I think he's pretty cool. I mean, when Khans of Tarkir came out, I saw the Mardu and I was like, that's my group. Because, I'm originally, my very first deck was a Kalia deck, so, black, white, red, that's just like where my home is for EDH. It's where it all began. So I really do just like the Mardu, but yeah, that card's very, very good. I do believe it would be, like you said, it's getting buzz in Standard, but I think it'd be good in EDH too.
I mean, essentially, it should really just say pay 5, win the game. Because you're going to pay the 5, and when you get to pick the blockers in the same deck that you can play Master Warcraft, game over. So the next guy we have is someone I think is pretty cool. Orc Sure Shot, 4-cost, 4/2 Orc Archer. I was gonna say warrior, but he's an archer. He has the ability of whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, target creature an opponent controls gets -1/-1 until end of turn. I think that's a huge ability. You know, if you're playing a token deck, you're gonna nuke so many creatures. If you're just playing some casual creatures throughout your deck, you're still gonna have the ability to take guys out, especially those smaller utility guys.
Yeah, I definitely. That's definitely something that I would think of putting into my Prosh deck. You know,
oh yeah, you cast Prosh and 7 guys come in. That's 7 -1/-1s.
Exactly. So I mean, just off of casting Prosh, well, you get 6 kobolds the first time because he costs 6, but
you
still,
get Prosh.
yeah. Well, that's true. That's true. You're right. So a -7/-7 just off of casting 1 card.
And the best part is it's per creature, so it's not like when it comes in you have to give -7 to one guy. It's each one targets individually.
Yeah, so you could kill a 3/3 and then a 2/2. You could do it however you want. It's for each creature, but yeah, definitely in a token deck.
Oh, yeah,
I think that guy would
disgusting.
run house. Yeah,
it's disgusting. Shaman of the Great Hunt. This guy's a 4-cost, 4/2 Orc Shaman. Lots of orcs,
I know.
Loving the orcs. He has haste. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may put a +1/+1 counter on it. And then he is Ferocious, which we didn't mention Ferocious earlier because it's a returning ability, not a new ability, just to throw that out there.
Yeah, another, Jess guy also has Prowess again in this set, so we
also didn't mention Prowess. He has the ability Ferocious, and it's 2 a hybrid blue-green and a hybrid blue-green. Draw a card for each creature you control with power 4 or greater. I mean, this guy he's a 4/2 on his own, and if you put him in the right deck, and he's in Animar's colors or in Timur's colors, being able to pay 4 mana to draw a card for every creature you have with power 4 or greater is cool. And the fact that when your creatures deal damage, they get bigger permanently. If they hit once, there's a chance they might hit again. I just think it's really cool.
Yeah, I would have to agree. If you're making like a deck with a bunch of like big dumb retarded creatures that are just going to turn sideways, I feel like that card could definitely do a lot of work.
I mean, just an example of where I think he'd be good is something in like my Animar deck, where I cast creatures, Animar gets bigger, so I can cast creatures faster. I run out of creatures to cast. So with a guy like him, I use his ability, draw 10 cards, and just start slamming creatures on the board. It's
pure value.
Yeah, pure value.
Pure value town. Yeah.
Next up, we have Archfiend of Depravity, 5-cost, 5/4 flyer. Which I'm surprised he's so low costed for a good demon. 5-cost, 5/4 flyer that's unusual for a demon. But
yeah.
At the beginning of each opponent's end step, that player chooses up to 2 creatures he or she controls and sacrifices the rest. The guy, he's awesome.
That's going in my Kalia deck, without a question.
That's going to go in black decks. Staple.
Yes, he's very good. I mean, a 5/4 body for 5. I think that's the same as Blood Gift Demon. Yep. Pretty sure he's a 5/4 as well. So I mean, you're getting a 5-power creature for 5 mana with flying. That's pretty good on its own. Mm-hmm. One that will force your opponents to sacrifice all their other creatures but 2.
And it's sacrifice, it's not destroy.
Yeah. So I mean, your opponent could have that Avison on the board.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter that it's indestructible. See you later. That guy's going to make you sacrifice it. So especially that's really good up against someone that's playing a token deck. If they're amassing an army of tokens, and you play that guy, all but 2 of their stuff, or 2 of their dudes is gone. So
yeah, he's really pretty solid.
He's really good, yeah.
Next up we have Flame Rush Rider. He's a 5-cost, 3/3 human warrior. Whenever Flame Rush Rider attacks, put a token onto the battlefield tapped and attacking that's a copy of another target attacking creature. Exile the token at the end of turn, and he has dash, which dash is
yeah.
But his ability is really cool.
I mean, that's kind of one of those cards where I feel like dash could be okay.
Yeah, it's not bad, yeah, because you can reuse that copy ability again.
Exactly. So, you could have some huge, mean, menacing creature on the board, maybe with an enter the battlefield ability, you attack with him, you can get and if you attack with that creature that you have, you can get a token on the board that's a copy of it. I would see myself abusing that with creatures with ETB abilities.
Oh, yeah, he'd be best friends with like an Inferno Titan.
Yeah.
You put down Inferno Titan, deal 3 damage, attack with Inferno Titan, deal 3 damage. attack with him and Flame Rush Ride another Inferno Titan for 3 more damage.
Yeah.
Too much damage. Too much
Crazy.
damage.
It's crazy.
You're actually not allowed to play. Next up, we have probably one of my favorite cards from the set is Torrent Elemental. 5 cost, 3/5 Elemental with flying. When Torrent Elemental attacks, tap all creatures the defending player controls. That's amazing. You turn this guy sideways, they can't block. He's almost as good as the Brutal War Chief as far as the attacking part. Because
I have to agree.
But you don't have to pay any mana. He just does it.
Yeah, he just does it by turning sideways.
Yeah, and for 5 mana, I can see this guy being huge in Standard as a 5-cost flyer. He could be a finisher. But we're talking about EDH, so. And then his second ability is not really too relevant, I don't think. But he is 3 hybrid green-black and a hybrid green-black. And you can put Torrent Elemental from exile onto the battlefield tapped, and you can only activate that when you could activate a sorcery. So the fact that he can't be exiled, really, because you can bring him back, is pretty solid. It's not bad. You know, it's always good to be able to get a guy back from exile. There's only one other creature you can cast from exile, and that's that weird
Mist Hollow Griffin, I think.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
I mean, he could be, you know, he's in Sultai colors, so obviously he works really well with Delve. You know, you could Delve him out of the graveyard, put him back, you know, so, you know, make your stuff cost cheaper and then get him out of exile as a 5/5 flyer that, you know, taps all your opponent's stuff when he turns sideways.
I mean, just his ability of whenever he turns sideways to attack, tap down all the defending player's creatures is awesome.
Agreed.
Then we have Ward Scale Dragon, 6 cost, 4/4 dragon. He's a flyer, and as long as Ward Scale Dragon is attacking, the defender player can't cast spells. This guy is, to me, he's maybe an uncommon dragon, but he's better than a lot of the rare cards I've seen. Whereas you attack with him, and the opponent can't cast spells. Like, they just can't. You get a free attack whenever he turns sideways.
So, I mean, if you declare your attack phase and your opponent doesn't do anything at that point, you attack with him, well, they're definitely not going to do anything now.
Yeah, as soon as you say attack phase, if they don't kill him and you turn him sideways, you get to just do whatever you want.
Yeah.
There's nothing they can do, and I think that really makes him powerful. And the 6 cost 4/4 flyer isn't terrible. I mean, it's definitely not the most phenomenal body, but his ability is really good.
I agree.
Then we have the card we mentioned earlier, Sandstep Mastodon, 7 cost 5/5 elephant. You gotta love the elephants, especially when they have 6 tusks. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
He has reach, and when he
Why
comes,
wouldn't he have 6? You know?
Why wouldn't he? So he has reach, and when he enters the battlefield, you can bolster 5. And we already went over bolster and why it's pretty cool. If he's alone, he comes in as a 10/10 with blink effects. He just does it to everybody. I just think he's really cool.
Yeah, I would have to agree. We did talk about him, a little bit earlier, but that bolster effect is probably the coolest new ability from this set. I would say.
So, yeah. I mean, you throw him in like a Simic deck to mess with counters, or a Agave deck to mess with counters, or an Abzan deck to mess with counters.
I mean, it is an Abzan card, so it does fit right in. But I really do like that card a lot, and I really do like the ability on it.
Yeah. So let's see. Next up, so that's our last creature. Next up is the spells, artifacts, and all that. So the first one we have is Hero's Blade. 2 cost, artifact equipment. A creature gets +3/+2. Whenever a legendary creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may attach Hero's Blade to it, and it has equip 4. Seeing as we're playing EDH, and every deck has a legend, that's pretty cool. Because you play a legend, it just goes right onto them. And I think it's pretty cool.
That's going to go in my recently completed Zergo Helm Smasher deck for sure.
I mean, I might have to put one in my Daxos deck. That deck's all about war making
it's
with
all
equipments.
about making getting lots of equipments down. You play a Daxos, that'll go right on them.
Oh yeah.
I just think I really do like equipments. I think they're really cool. One that just automatically attaches itself to any legendary creature. Plus, it gives the creature, a +3/+2?
+3/+2, yeah.
It's just good.
It almost reminds me of a lot of the Lorwyn equipments that would go to a certain creature type. If you played a rogue, it would go onto it. It's in that same vein.
Dagger, yeah.
Next up, we have Rally the Ancestors. It's an X spell, so it's 2 white and X. And you can return each creature card with converted mana cost X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, and exile these creatures at the beginning of your next upkeep. And then exile Rally the Ancestors. I really like this card because it has that whole next upkeep thing rather than like next X end step like most spells.
Or like, something like with Unearth, if it would leave play, it's exiled instead. Mm-hmm. You could do some shenanigans around that. If you're playing, that's a white card, I could think of maybe playing that in, a Brago deck.
Just play Ghostway.
Or Ghostway or Sudden Disappearance. Yep. Well, let's say you're playing a Brago deck and you attack, you cast that, you resurrect a bunch of dudes, you attack with a Brago, you blink them all out, and they're going to come back in. Well, now they're not going to get exiled permanently.
And, you cast this on your main phase 1, they last through your whole turn, they last through your whole opponent's turn, and then at the beginning of your next upkeep is when they would get exiled. So if you have a free sack outlet, sack them all. If you can blink them, do that. It just gives them such a long time span before they go away. Most spells like this, it's end of turn. Like you do this at end of turn, it's gone. Or, something like that. But I like the timing on this.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we picked it. Because I never like it when I'm exiling my stuff. I hate it. I hate exiling stuff. That's why, Delve is just garbage in Commander, at least, I think it is. But, that card, like you said, the time frame where it lasts through your entire turn. If you're playing a multiplayer game, 3 or 4 people, it's going to last through all your opponent's turns.
4-player game, you're going to have those creatures for about half an hour before it comes back to you.
And if you have some sort of, spell, like you were saying, like a Ghostway, or, you attack with a Brago, or, a spell that will, flicker out your creatures and you're going to get them back and then they won't permanently be exiled. So,
Rally the Ancestors is a ticket to Value Town.
Yes, sir.
Then we have another one of the cards I really like is Reality Shift. 2-cost, blue instant, exile target creature, and its controller manifest the top card of his or her library. Now we mentioned we don't really like manifest, but what I like about this card is that I exile a creature, and it's a blue card. Blue doesn't have a lot of effects like this. So giving them access to creature kill essentially, creature exile is not terrible.
Yeah, that's pretty good, yeah.
And you manifest the top card of their library. Now I may not like manifest for me, but if I can manifest my opponent's land or instants or sorceries or planeswalkers and turn it into a 2/2, I'm okay with that. Because I could essentially 2-for-1 my opponent. I reality shift their big threat, it's gone. And then another one of their big threats is face down. As a 2/2, I can kill a 2/2 all day.
Yeah.
So for 2 mana, being almost able to 2-for-1 opponent, I'll take that.
Oh, I definitely agree. Plus, what does it cost? 2? So I mean, it's cheap to play. And if you're playing it in a blue deck, which I hope you are, because it's a blue card. You have access to like Mnemonic Wall and Archaeomancer and stuff like that. Or if you're playing multiple colors, maybe and is it Chronarch? You can get it back and keep reusing it. I really do like it. The manifest, like you said, can be good. If your opponent manifests like a Planeswalker off the top of their deck. That Planeswalker is just turned into a 2/2 dude. It's good. I like it.
And then just throw it on like an Isochron Scepter and do it for days.
Oh, yeah. Can definitely see that.
Or if you really want to have something crazy happen, cast this and then cast Radiate on it so it hits every possible target. It's just going to be crazy.
I mean, that's what our second uncommon, I think, on the list. I mean, there's some pretty good uncommons in this set.
No, it's our third or fourth, but it doesn't. I mean, there's some pretty good uncommons. Next up, we have Crux of Fate, whatever.
Cruise of Fate, going on a tropical cruise with dragons.
5 mana. I think it's the only sweeper in the set. Am I correct?
I believe it is.
I think it is the only sweeper in the set. But 5 mana sorcery. Choose one. Destroy all dragon creatures or destroy all non-dragon creatures. So this goes in 2 types of decks. It goes in decks with no dragons and kills everything, or it goes in a dragon deck like a Scion deck or a tribal dragon deck and kills everything that isn't the dragons, and it becomes like a Plague Wind.
Yeah.
So it's either good or it's good.
I mean, plus it's a black sweeper. Aside from we did get in Garrick's Wake from M15, but just another black sweeper. I feel like people will eat it up. I mean, I probably will. I'll probably put it in a lot of my black decks.
And I mean, a lot of the black sweepers are high mana cost. If you look at Decree of Pain,
that's
Plague Wind,
8, 9,
Garrick's Wake,
9 again.
Those are all high mana costs. So I would take the downfall of if I use this, my opponent may be able to keep a creature or 2 to be able to just cast it for less mana. Next up, we have Palace Siege. I think it's the only siege we actually put on the list. Which is the black one. So it's 5. It's a 5 mana enchantment, 3 and 2 black. Enchantment. As it comes into play, you call either Khans or dragons, depending on who you want to support, I guess. And if you choose Khans, at the beginning of your upkeep, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Or if you choose dragons, at the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Both of these modes I think are pretty good, depending on the type of deck you're playing. I think if you're playing like an Orzhov deck or an Aloro deck, you choose dragons. I think if you're playing any other deck with black, you choose Khans. I mean,
yeah, basically an oversold cemetery. Being able to get back creatures from your graveyard and commander is huge. Yeah, it's not to the battlefield; it's to your hand, but it's still really good creature recursion. I think is like one of the key things in commander.
I mean, if you want to, if a card's good to put in your deck to play it once, why not play it 2 or 3 times?
Exactly.
And yeah, it's, being a cousin, so to speak, of Oversold Cemetery, I'll take that all day. Then we have Mob Rule. Mob Rule is a 6-cost sorcery, and you can choose one. Gain control of all creatures with power 4 or greater until end of turn, and untap those creatures may gain haste. Or gain control of all creatures with power 3 or less until end of turn, and untap those creatures that gain haste. I just think it's a cool spell. Things like Insurrection are good. And this one, you can really play it and look at the board and see where you get the most value. I mean, granted, it's not Insurrection. You're not getting all of them, but it doesn't cost as much as Insurrection either.
It's very true.
And like if there's mostly 3 or less, you take that. If there's mostly 4 or greater, you take that. You can just look and see what you need.
I feel like it's kind of like a card that it's similar to is kind of like Austere Command, where you can pick what creatures you're going to destroy. Well, this way you can pick what creatures you're going to gain control.
How does this benefit me the most?
Yeah, exactly.
More or less. And they all untap and they all gain haste. So that's never bad.
Yeah, not bad at all. Not by any means.
And then we have Supplicant Form. Supplicant Form is a 6-cost blue instant, being 4 and double blue, and return target creature to its owner's hand, and you put a token on the battlefield that's a copy of this creature. This card's good.
Yeah.
A 6-cost bounce spell for creatures that you get a copy of it. That's really, really good, because if it has an enter the battlefield ability, you'll copy that. If it's just an awesome creature, you'll copy that. It's really, really good.
It's just any creature, right?
Yeah.
I mean, hell, you can bounce one of your own creatures. Yep. Get a enter the battlefield effect and then recast it and get it again. So I mean, I'm not really a blue player. I'm more of an aggressive style player. Derek's more of a blue player, but
yeah, I love the tricks, and this thing has tricks with
that's I'm not a controller blue player at all, but I can definitely see the goodness in that card. It's very, very good.
And then we have Ghastly Conscription. This is probably one of the cooler Manifest cards. It's also a little different with Manifest, but it is a 7-cost sorcery. Exile all creature cards from target player's graveyard in a face-down pile. Shuffle this pile, then manifest those cards. So it's the only Manifest card, I believe, that actually manifests from the graveyard rather than the top of the library. But obviously, for it to function correctly, it really has to. But it's cool because if they have 10 creatures in their graveyard, you take those cards, put them face down, shuffle them up, put them on the battlefield manifested. Now you can actually flip them face up if you have the proper mana to do so, or the proper colors. It's really cool. You're taking away most of their graveyard. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's the card we were talking about earlier in the video that has that manifest ability that we think is a pretty cool card. The thing I like about it is that you're exiling all their creatures, and then you're manifesting them. So like you said, if you have the appropriate mana, if you're if you're playing mono black and your opponent's playing mono white, you'll never be able to morph them face up. But just the fact that they get exiled is nice. And then you get that many 2/2 creatures on the board. If you have the appropriate mana, you can morph them face up into what they actually are. So, it's not like you're getting, like an instant or a sorcery or something that you can't actually use. It's an actual creature that you can, get some value out of if you actually morph it face up if you have the right mana to do so.
And in case anybody's wondering why it specifically says to shuffle the pile, that's just I think it's just so the opponent doesn't know which creature's which. Because technically you're supposed to keep your graveyard in the correct order that it went in. So if anyone's paying attention to their graveyard, you just take it and more or less flip it over. They might know which creatures are which to target that creature and kill it to get it back to their graveyard. So shuffling it up adds that randomness. And you can look at it all day long. Once you manifest them on your side, you can look at them and see what they are. And when they're on the field, if you need to rearrange them, whatever you want to do, you can. Your opponent doesn't have that information anymore, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then the last card we have for our Nodge Legends is Ujin the Spirit Dragon. The only Planeswalker in the set? Yeah.
Yes.
Yep, the only Planeswalker. He's also our second ever printed colorless Planeswalker. And he has an 8 mana cost. He comes in with 7 loyalty. He has a +2. Ujin the Spirit Dragon deals 3 damage to target. Is it 3 damage? It's really blurry.
I believe it's 3 damage.
Yeah. Ujin the Spirit Dragon deals 3 damage to target player.
And just one thing that I kind of want to point out with that, for any of you that like to read flavor texting on cards and stuff like that, the card Ghostfire, I believe that was first made. What was it? Future Sight.
Yeah,
it was a future shifted card. The flavor text on that card, reads something like, only those gifted with the, Eye of Ujin, the Spirit Dragon, can see his fiery breath. So
that's kind of how Wizards operate. So years ago when they printed Future Sight, they printed a future shifted card called Ghostfire, which referenced Eye of Ujin, which came out in a set years later, which was still years before this set, where Ujin actually comes. So Wizards doesn't play around.
Actually, no, the Eye of Ujin was in World Wake, I think it was, or one of the Zendikar blocks. Yeah. And then, we had Rise of the Eldrazi come, and then, you could actually use the Eye of Ujin. I know that land, because it was a land, it came out in a set where there were no Eldrazi. And then, Rise of the Eldrazi came, and now, all of a sudden, the Eye of Ujin is usable.
Yeah, so it's just... I like how Wizards does that. They have their plan. Ghostfire came out years ago, then Eye of Ujin, and then actually Sarkhan came out. The first Sarkhan came out in
Shards of Alara.
Oh, was it Shards? Then you have Sarkhan, who came out somewhere in the middle, who traveled back in time to get Ujin. They don't mess around. They get their flavor on lock.
And speaking of time-shifted cards, I'm still waiting on Korlash Heir to Blackblade to be reprinted.
Yeah, you hear that, Wizards? It's a future-shifted card.
Bring it back.
Do it. So back to Ujin. He has a minus ability, or his second ability is exile each permanent with converted mana cost X or less. That's 1 or more colors, and it's a minus ability. So if you -5, it exiles all permanents that have a color or more colors. I don't know why they worded it like that, but as long as it has a color, it's exile.
I mean, the thing I like about that is, he cost 8, and he come in with 7 counters, 7 loyalty. So you could cast him for 8, and then use that minus ability. If you're
6.
Yeah, I mean, if you're if you're got an empty board and your opponent is just amassing things on their side of the board, and you drop an Ujin and use that minus ability, right away, you're probably going to exile all their stuff.
That'd be sad.
Yeah.
And then he has a -10. Is you gain 7 life, draw 7 cards, then put the top 7 permanents cards from your hand onto the. Put up to 7 permanents.
Redo.
Yeah. Apparently I can't read. So you gain 7 life, draw 7 cards, then put up to 7 permanent cards from your hand onto the battlefield. It's almost like a direct opposite of Nico Bolas.
It's a very anti-Nico Bolas.
Which is fitting because they essentially fought and Ujin lost. But that's okay.
They are arch enemies, so I really do. When I saw that, I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool." It's like an anti-Bolas ability, because Bolas's ability is basically the exact opposite of that.
Yep.
So those are our cards and our list of the non-legends that we picked out from Fate Reforged.
All the ones that pique our interest.
Yeah, the ones that we kind of thought were cool or that we just liked, whatever it may be. But now I'm going to go into the new legends that we have in this set. And there's 10 of them. There's 5 pre-cons, I guess you can say. Back in time, we had different cons for each of the, I don't know if we want to call them guilds or, whatever, but... I
think they're clans.
Clans, yeah.
I hate when I go back in time and get pre-cons all over the
But anyways, so there's 5 cons and 5 dragons, so we're going to talk about those now. In the first one is the pre-Mardu con, Elisha Who Smiles at Death. He's a 3-cost, 3/2 legendary human warrior with first strike, so with a 3/2 with first strike ain't bad for 3.
I'll take it.
But when he attacks, you may pay a hybrid white and a black or a hybrid white and a black. If you do, return target creature card with power 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, tapped and attacking. I think that's a really, really cool ability. Mm-hmm. There's some pretty good value creatures with 2 or less power.
First thing that comes to mind, Karmic Guide.
Yeah, I mean, and it's in the colors too.
Yeah. Pay 2 mana, bring back a Karmic Guide, and bring back something huge.
Yeah, exactly.
huge.
And another thing I want to point out about these legends is that these legends are all monocolored, but to actually cast them, but they have that hybrid mana in the rule texting, which makes it so I believe that you could play this guy, as your general and make the deck red, white, black.
Yeah, it's exactly because he has those symbols on his face that makes him, for all intents and purposes, in EDH a Mardu colored general.
Yeah, so I think he's really cool. What do you think about him?
I think he's cool. I wish his ability also had some red in there, just because then you could play him as a mono red general if you wanted to. But it doesn't, right? Yeah. Isn't it just black white?
Yeah, he's mono red himself, but the ability is hybrid white and black.
If you were to build him as a mono red general, it's like, but he's a really cool ability, especially with all the crazy utility creatures in black and white that at the 2 mana slot.
I agree. All right, next we have the pre-Jesk icon, Shu Yun, the Silent Tempest. He is a 3-cost 3/2 as well, with Prowess, which is a returning ability from Khans of Tarkir. For those of you that don't know what that is, basically whenever you cast a non-creature spell, a creature with Prowess will get +1/+1 until end of turn. Mm-hmm. But his second ability is whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may pay a hybrid red and white, and another hybrid red-white. If you do, target creature gains double strike until end of turn. That's really good.
I think he's pretty phenomenal. I do.
Yeah, I mean, a 3-cost 3/2, not bad, just off the mana cost and the body. The fact that it has Prowess is nice. So, let's say you cast, a reality shift. You're going to Prowess, and then, you can pay that hybrid red-white and that hybrid red-white and, give a creature double strike. So, I feel like he'd be really good in a Narset deck. Hell, you could build a deck just around him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just pack in like a ton of like Ponders, Preordains, Brainstorms, those little cheapo blue spells, and he's blue, red, white, yes?
Yes.
So, Shocks and Lightning Bolts and just a bunch of little quirky spells to kick off Prowess and make him huge, but also invest that extra mana and give multiple creatures double strike and just swing with the team.
Yeah, I think he's very, very potent. I feel like he'd be really cool to build around actually in Commander.
He has a really, really cool surprise you're dead factor.
He does, yes. I mean, and you don't really see a lot of that, in blue. I mean, yeah, he's, blue, red, white, but at his core, he's a blue creature just with that red, white ability. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think he adds a lot of, cool stuff to the table. All right, next we have the Temur Khan, Yasova Dragonclaw, a 3-cost 4/2 with Trample, so that's not bad. But at the beginning of combat on your turn, you may pay 1 in a hybrid blue-red and another hybrid blue-red. If you do, gain control of target creature and opponent controls with power less than Yasova Dragonclaw's power until end of turn. Untap that creature and it gains haste until end of turn. I think he's okay. I don't think he's bad.
I think your face summed it up and you were like...
I mean, yeah, you're gaining control of creatures for 3 mana, but they have to be less than 4 power.
Right, and considering it's like a Temur thing, I would have expected something completely different, that he could, tame a big beast and steal big creatures.
I mean, if you make him bigger somehow, maybe you put an equipment on him, or you...
like a Hero's Blade?
Yeah, a Hero's Blade, there you go. Now you can take control of stuff with, what, 7 less than 7 power?
What my gripe about him is that the opponent can see it coming.
Yeah.
That, they know what creatures they have, they see him, they see if you have the mana open, so they'll know right away if you could steal one of their creatures. Not like with Mardu, with the red guy, Alesha. When you attack, they don't know which creature you can res. Sure, they can see all the ones you have with 2 or less, but they don't know which ones you res. Or who you'll give double strike with Shu Yun. I feel like he's too predictable to be tricky.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I mean, I don't think he's bad by any means, but I feel like to be really good, if you were building a deck around him, seeing as we're talking about the legends, and the new generals that we're getting. If you were to build a deck around him, you'd probably want to, run some stuff that's gonna, pump his power,
Some
in order
bolster.
to some bolster stuff. But that's Abzan, not Timur. You can't do that.
It's not allowed.
I know, it's that something like that would bother me if I was building like a Timur deck and I had an Abzan card. I'd be like, no, I can't do it.
For flavor reasons, it can't be done.
So that's Yasova Dragonclaw. The next card here is the Abzan Khan.
Which I love Abzan, by the way.
Daghatar the Adamant. He's a 4-cost 0/0 with Vigilance, but he enters the battlefield with 5+1/+1 counters. So a 4-cost 5/5 that's pretty good with Vigilance too.
Yeah, I'll take it.
So I'll take it all day.
He's only one smaller than a Sun Titan.
Yeah, but his ability on him is that you can pay 1 in a hybrid green-black and another hybrid green-black to move a +1/+1 counter from target creature onto a second target creature. So that's very fitting for Abzan. I feel like he's probably the most flavorful one out of the cons, as far as from a standpoint of what each of those clans' abilities do. Seeing his Abzan, Outlast that distributes counters, he'll allow you to move those counters around and manipulate them how you want. So I think he's pretty cool. What do you think?
Oh, I completely agree. I'm all about combat tricks and being tricky. It's one of my favorite things to do is be able to attack with a bunch of guys, and when my opponent blocks, just do something completely different. Like that, I love that, and I love that ability, being able to, even though you're only moving a counter for 3 mana, it's still really cool. Throw him in an Abzan deck with a bunch of.
I feel like he would do work in a Gave deck.
Oh yeah, he'd be awesome. It's just. It's too bad he wasn't in Simic colors, being able to just move a counter to another creature.
I was thinking that, yeah. I was thinking he'd be good in Simic, but
and Experiment Craj would be great friends.
yeah, they would. So that's Daghatar.
Daghatar.
So the next creature we have is one of the dragons, one of the legendary dragons. It's Dramoka the Eternal. It's a 5-cost 5/5 flyer. So a 5/5 for 5 flyer, pretty good.
5/5 for 5.
But whenever a dragon you control attacks, bolster 2. So going back to that bolster mechanic. But what's really cool about the all these legendary dragons is that they will do something when they attack, but it's for every dragon. Mm-hmm. Whenever a dragon attacks. So if you are playing a tribal dragon deck,
like Scion of the Air Dragon.
Yeah. And you attack with 3 dragons.
You get to bolster 2 3 times.
Yeah. So I mean, you're putting 2 counters on something, then 2 counters on something else, and 2 counters on something else. So really cool. I really do like it. I think it's one of the cooler dragons.
And what's cool about the bolster is it doesn't target. It just automatically goes on your weakest guy. So your weakest guy may have been a 5/5, well now he's a 7/7, so now your weakest guy may be your 6/6, so now he becomes an 8/8. It's going to cascade in order. So something like that, it's going to level your field out to get equally kind of menacing.
Yes.
You're not going to have one really big guy. It's going to just level it out, and that's almost more scary to have a bunch of big guys instead of
just one monstrous one that someone could just chump block all day. So that's Dramoka. The next dragon is Kolagan the Storm's Fury. He is a 5-cost 4/5 flyer. He's black-red, just to kind of go back to Dramoka, that she was green-white. So Kolagan, he's a 5-cost 4/5, 3 a black and a red flyer. Whenever a dragon you control attacks, creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn, and he has dash for the same cost as his mana cost. So that dash mechanic, again, you can pay the dash cost on it, the creature gains haste, and at the end of turn, it gets bounced to your hand. But I feel like this guy is super, super aggressive. You put him down, and whenever a dragon you control attacks, all your creatures get +1/+0. So, if you're, again, tribal dragons, just throwing it out there, seeing as these are all legendary dragons.
And they love to play with other dragons.
They do. So, if you attack with 5 dragons, all your creatures are going to get +5/+0. So, I mean, it's really cool. The dash, I don't really care too much about the dash ability, but...
Yeah, and the dash actually doesn't get around commander decks either, because Dash specifically says you're casting it for its dash cost. So if you cast him and he dies, and next turn you want to dash him, you still have to pay the tax. You still have to pay the commander tax on it.
Yeah.
Not like Derevi, who can get around it forever.
Yeah. Or Derevi, yes. Or what did you say? Derevi? Derevi, yes, okay. Derevi, you know, tomato.
Whatever. You probably thought I meant Derevi, which...
that's what I heard.
Yeah.
So...
But yeah,
anyways,
Dash doesn't get around commander cost, so, I mean, the commander tax, rather, so it's not that much better to have it on your general.
Yeah, so, I mean, there is that aspect of it, but, you know, being able to pump, basically give your creatures fire breathing, you know, for every dragon that attacks is pretty cool. I like it. Mm-hmm. Next is Salumgar, the Drifting Death. He's another legendary dragon. He's blue and black. He's a 6-cost, 3/7, 4, a blue and a black, with flying and hexproof. So he's got that, you know, that hexproof, which is really cool. You know, he'll never be targeted by any of your opponent's stuff. But whenever a dragon you control attacks, creatures defending player controls get -1/-1 until end of turn. That's really cool.
I think he's strictly better than Kolagar.
Oh, I would have to agree.
Because if you attack with 3 dragons and all your opponent's creatures get -3/-3, you're going to kill some guys even before combat. Whereas Kolagar has to hit.
That's true.
And they just get a higher attack, not defense. He's just strictly better.
I would have to agree. Just by turning a dragon sideways, giving all your opponent's stuff, or the defending opponent that you're attacking, all their creatures -1/-1, really good. You know, and again, if you're playing tribal dragons and you attack with a bunch of dragons, you're going to kill a lot of stuff.
Just imagine most of these dragons with like a dragon broodmother.
Yeah.
or like an Utvara Hellkite, or you know, any of the dragons that make more dragons, like Broodmate Dragon. You know, you're getting so many, but Broodmother Dragon comes to call for me first because you'll get
one on every single upkeep.
You can't, yeah, it's silly. It's silly.
It is silly. So that's Salumgar. He's probably one of my, out of the 5, he's probably one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
Next, we're kind of going back to the cons now. The list that I have is a little mishmash, but it's okay. So now we have the Sultai Precon. Tassiger, the Golden Fang. He's a 6-cost, 4/5, 5 and a black, with Delve. So, you know, that Delve mechanic, that's a returning mechanic from Khans of Tarkir. And basically what you can do with that is you can exile stuff from your graveyard to make that card with Delve cost 1 colorless less to cast. So the very least you can cast this guy for is 1 black.
Not terrible.
So not terrible. You know, if you cast him for 1, a 1-cost 4/5, not bad. But his ability is you can pay 2 and 2 hybrid green and blue to put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard, and then return a non-land card of an opponent's choice from your graveyard to your hand. I think he's okay. I mean, you know, the look on my face after I read it.
That's why I laugh, because the look on his face tells me exactly what he thinks of him, and I agree. He's
okay. You know, when I first looked at him, I was like, oh, you know, maybe I could put this into like a Reanimator deck or something like that. I mean, yeah, it lets you mill cards, which is what you want to do in a Reanimator deck. You know, and yeah, you get one of those non-land cards back from your graveyard to your hand, but your opponent gets to choose it.
Yeah, so they're always going to choose the lesser of the 2 evils every time.
Yeah.
You know, they're always going to give you the least threatening thing.
Plus, it I don't think it has to be one of those cards, because it just says put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard, then return a non-land card of an opponent's choice from your graveyard to your hand.
It doesn't have to be one of those 2
so
cards.
It doesn't have to be one of those 2 cards. You know, you could have some, you know, stupid junk card in your graveyard already, and your opponent could be like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll give that back to you. So I mean, I guess it would be okay, you know, in a deck where you want to abuse the graveyard.
Or if you plan on playing a lot of Delve because you're confused about why you'd be playing Delve.
But for the top 2 cards for 4 mana, I feel like there's better cards you could play just to mill yourself.
You could play Hedron Crab off the top of my head. Landfall.
Yeah, every time you landfall, mill the top 3. Hell, you know, you could play Glimpse the Unthinkable.
Yeah, for 2 and get 10.
Yeah, so I mean, Tysiger, I don't think he's that great. He gets a thumbs down.
He gets the thumbs down.
So the next legend we have here is another dragon. It's Raka World Render. Probably my favorite one by far. Probably next to Saloomgar. This is probably my favorite one. But it's a 7 cost 6/4 flying and trample. It's a red-green dragon. 5 a red and a green. And that 6/4 body with flying and trample is pretty good on its own too. But whenever a dragon you control attacks, it gains double strike until end of turn. So just by itself, when it attacks itself, it's a 6/4 trampler with double strike. Just by turning sideways, it gains double strike. That card's going to go into my Karthus Tyrant of Jund deck. It's probably also going to go into my Prosh deck. Because if I, cast a Prosh and, he doesn't, I don't have a way to give him haste, I play this next turn, I attack with Prosh and sacrifice all those kobolds, I just won if you don't block him.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, those are decks that I would put this card in, but just the fact that it gives itself double strike when it turns sideways, it's going to hit for 12. It's ridiculous. It's really good.
Little menacing.
Yeah, it's pretty
Especially
scary.
if he hits unblocked as a general, he just did 12 damage. You're almost dead. You're almost dead.
Yeah. He's only going to hit you one more time for you to die. So
him, I mean, a lot of times when people are looking at generals, especially Voltron or aggro generals, are looking at the turn clock. When he hits, how many hits does it take to kill you? And a lot of the better generals are like 3 hits. You have a 3-turn clock, and then you're dead. This guy's a 2-turn clock. It doesn't get a lot better with no equipments, no enchantments, no buffs than a 2-turn clock.
Plus, you're in red and green, so you have a lot of green can pump your creature's power. Give you a lot of support. Red's got a lot of haste effects, so play a Fervor or play a Hammer or Perforos or something like that before you drop him and attack with him the turn you played him. Okay, maybe your opponent has a flyer. Well, he's got trample. So he's going to trample over some damage more than likely.
Oh yeah, I mean, you could play things like Fervor early, then like a Gruul War Chant, and then, him, and now he can't even be blocked unless it's by 2 creatures. So either they let him go through or they throw a lot of guys in front of him. And then he also gets, I think a Gruul War Chant gives him a +1/+0.
Yeah.
So now he's hitting for 18, for 14. It makes the clock even that, well, it's still a 2-turn clock, but
yeah.
But then you just throw on any green pump spell. You could one-shot some with him the turn he comes down.
Yeah, easy you could do it. So, I mean, he's probably my favorite dragon, but, as a lot of I like big, fatty, menacing creatures. I like turning dudes sideways, so...
Yeah, I think the 2 of us, I'm the one who built a deck that has 4 creatures or less in a 100-card deck.
Alright, next is another one of the legendary dragons. It's Ojutai, Soul of Winter. It's a white-blue dragon, 7 cost, 5 a white and a blue for a 5/6 flyer with vigilance, so that's pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
But whenever a dragon you control attacks, tap target non-land permanent an opponent controls. That permanent doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. I really do like this card. I'm not, like I said before, I'm not a huge control player. But for any of you that saw our Ravnica Battle for Supremacy in my Azorius deck that almost went all the way, it almost did, came so close, but yet so far. But I mean, I would probably add this into that deck. A 5/6 flyer with vigilance is pretty good. One that will permanently, well, not permanently, but it'll tap something down and it doesn't untap during that person's next untap step is pretty good.
Yeah,
I really do like it.
I think what makes him strong is that he taps it down before they can declare defenders. So you swing with him, if they only have 1 flyer, that flyer's got tapped down, and he's hitting.
Yeah, he's hitting for 5, yeah.
And where you're in blue, you could draw something like a Xenograft and call dragons. Now every one of your creatures is dragons. You attack, tap down everything they have, they're going to skip their whole, and they skip their untap step.
Maybe I'll add in Xenograft into the Azorius deck.
Plus, he's in the same colors as Yosei.
Yeah.
So you could start just killing and recurring Yosei and keep them locked down, using him to continually tapping down more permanents.
Hell, and Yosei is a dragon. You could attack with him and tap something. Yeah.
I think for me, he's probably one of my top 5 cards in the set because I love effects like that.
Yeah, and Derek and I both agreed. I believe the flavor text on this card is just really, really cool. It's a quote from Shu Yun, the Silent Tempest.
He's pretty cool.
When I battled Ojutai, I realized my learning had only begun. So,
that's pretty cool.
That's a pretty cool quote. But moving on. Well, actually, no, that's the last legend. So that's all 10 of the legends. You know, we had the 5 dragons and the 5 precons. Overall, pretty cool stuff. You know, I like it when a set has lots of legends to give you, you know, more options to play around with, you know, as a commander for your army, for your deck. You know, I personally like dragons a lot, so seeing, you know, 5 new legendary dragons was pretty cool. But the cons are pretty cool too, you know, with the exception of Yasova Dragonclaw. He's not bad. I think he's probably one of the weaker ones. But
and what's his name? The Golden Fang.
Yeah, the Sultai guy. Yeah, he's probably the worst one.
I can't remember his name. That's
what is his name? Because I forget it too. Tassiger, the Golden Fang.
Yeah, he's so unrememberable that I just forgot his name.
Yeah. I would have to agree, but yeah. So those are the 10 legends. I mean, overall, I think the legends, you know, bring a lot of cool things to the table. You know, the cons and the dragons. So let us know what you guys think. You know, leave a comment in the comment section below the video. Let us know what you think of the legends. What you think of our, you know, picks of you know, honorable mentions, cards from this set that we thought were pretty cool that we wanted to you know, mention in the video. Or give us your overall thoughts on the set in general. I mean, Derek and I, you know, we kind of think it's a, you know, a kind of underwhelming set overall. You know, with as good as Khans of Tarkir was, I really did like it a lot. I feel like we kind of took a step backwards with this set.
Yeah, I mean, we did go back in time, but that's
that's true.
That's no reason to go back in progress.
Yeah, so I mean, it does just feel like a very underwhelming set. But one thing of note as well from this set, for any of you that cracked any packs or booster boxes of Dragon's Maze, you know that you had a chance to get the shock lands as your land in your booster pack. Well, they're bringing that back for Fate Reforged, so obviously not shock lands, but you'll have a chance of getting those fetch lands as your land pull in your
they
pack.
are doing it really cool because, you know, it'll replace just the land, so it won't replace your rare.
Yeah. So you could potentially get, you know, a 2 rare pack.
You could get a 3 rare pack if there's a foil rare.
That's true.
Because the fetch lands are only going to replace your rare. So, you know, I think Wizards do that.
You mean your land?
Yeah.
Okay.
The fetch land is only going to replace the land slot in your booster. So you'll get a rare, you'll get a land that could be a fetch land, and you potentially could also get a foil. Just like in Dragon's Maze when you could get the three rare packs.
I forgot about that.
And I feel like Wizards knew this set was a little underwhelming and did that on purpose to generate more sales. Because the ability to get more fetch lands or to get multiple rares in a pack or 3 rares in a pack, it's going to drive more sales.
Oh yeah, definitely. And you know, people love their fetch lands. You know, they're huge and standard.
And modern,
legacy. Pretty much, you know, any format other than Commander. I mean, they're okay in Commander, but you know,
I'd rather play 10 more for expanse for 10 cents.
Yeah, I would have to tend to agree. You know, I would rather pay 10 cents than $10. You know, so there is that too with the fetch land. So you know, if any of you guys, you know, play Standard, you know, I guess you have, you know, that to look forward to. But yeah, I mean, that pretty much wraps up everything about our little pre-review for Fate Reforged. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, comment, and subscribe, all that stuff. Let us know what you think of Fate Reforged, and you know, what you think of us, what you think of the legends, and the cards that we picked out as our honorable mentions. So
yeah, and you know, as of the time of filming this, we have 181 subscribers.
I believe it's 181. Yes.
We are still doing our 200 subscriber giveaway, so we're only 19 away. So, you know, share these videos with your friends so they can subscribe, and you know, you could win some free cards, they could win some free cards. And then also take a look at our Ravnica Battle for Supremacy. It's a little, you know, thing that we did as like a just a fun thing to do. But give us suggestions on what you think could be our next project, because we'll do it. You know, we're allowed to take pretty much any project.
Yeah, I mean, we've actually got, I think we got a couple of suggestions, you know, in our comments on some of our Ravnica videos. about what our next project could potentially be.
Yeah, we got a suggestion to do viewer decks, which is something we're looking into, and I think we got the one to do
Battle of the Gods, I believe it was.
Yeah, it was the suggestion for Battle of the Gods, and then I think there was also a suggestion for the Shards versus the Cons. I think that was in there. So I think those 3 suggestions that we're open to any suggestion, and we'll probably eventually do them all.
Yeah.
Because we love Magic, but we also love flavorful, fun Magic more than just cutthroat gameplay.
Yeah, most definitely. So yeah. Again, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Just another thing kind of want to throw out, I don't know if you guys can see it from here, but Battleground Games and Hobbies. That's our local gaming store. That's where we filmed the finale of our Ravnica Battle for Supremacy, and I just kind of want to take a moment at the end of this video to thank the staff at Battleground Games and Hobbies for helping us facilitate these videos and allowing us to use the room that we were in when we filmed the finale. That was a private gaming area, and they allowed us to use that at no fee, because they normally charge a fee for it. But for us, we're promoting them, they're helping us out, so they helped us out in that aspect. So I just want to give out a thanks to Kale and Derek Lloyd from the Battlegrounds and all the other staff there as well. We really do appreciate you guys promoting us on your webpage, battlegroundgames.com, and just helping us out, help us, facilitate our videos.
Yeah, they've really been great.
Yeah, they've been, their store is great. The staff is, they're just nice people. Especially, the 2 that we see more often. Kale and Derek. Just really good guys. You guys saw Kale in our
Ravnica pregame show.
Pre-game show, yes, with his pick on who he thought would win, and then the exact opposite happened. But yeah, anyways, we've taken up enough of your time, so thanks for watching the video, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll catch you later.
Have a good one.